some more in depth about having horizontal and vertical lines, because I know that sometimes is really confusing. So we're going to take another note sheet to do that. So what we want to start off is just kind of remembering what parallel and perpendicular slope means. So remember, for a slope to be parallel, it needs to have the same slope. So parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular slope are opposite reciprocals. So you flip the fraction over and you're going to change the sign. So let's go ahead and practice with some of these. So for the slope of 2 over 7, okay, the parallel slope is going to be the same, so that's going to be 2 over 7. The perpendicular slope, we're going to flip the fraction over, so it's going to be 7 over 2, and since it's a positive slope, we want to make it negative so that the fraction is perpendicular. The next fraction we have is 1/4. So the parallel slope, again, is going to be the same, so that's going to be 1/4. The perpendicular slope, we want to flip it over. So that's going to be 4 over 1. Well, 4 over 1 is the same as 4. And then we want to make it opposite. So since it's positive, we're going to make it negative. So then let's take a look at this next one. We have a -3. Well, keep in mind that -3 is the same as -3 over 1. So the parallel slope is going to stay as is. It's going to stay as -3. Now, for the perpendicular slope, we need to take -3 over 1 and flip it over. Well, that's going to be the same as 1 over 3. It's a -3, so to change the sign, we're just going to keep it positive. Next, let's take a look at this 0, so the horizontal line. Remember that slopes of 0 are horizontal. Okay, slopes of 0 are horizontal. So that means for something to be perpendicular to it, it would have to be vertical. Now recall we talked about this briefly in the last note sheet, that vertical lines have undefined slopes because we're going to be dividing by 0. So actually, the slope of this line is going to be undefined. Okay, so the slope of that line is going to be undefined. Now let's take a look at the next one. So we have the fraction 9 over 11. So the parallel slope is going to be the same, which is 9 over 11. The perpendicular slope is going to be the fraction flipped over, which is 11 over 9. And that's the perpendicular slope, okay? Let's graph some lines, because that's fun to do, right? So let's kind of review this. So remember that slope-intercept form is y is equal to mx plus b. So if we have something like this, y is equal to 4/5 x over 6, I'm crossing the y-axis at a -6. Okay, so I'm crossing the y-axis at a -6. So let's count down. Here's our 0. So we're going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And that's the point we're going to be plotting right there. Okay, then 4 over 5. Remember that slope, you might want to make a note to yourself, is rise over run. And hopefully the ink actually appears there. It's coming. All right, so the slope is rise over run for the slope. So if we're doing 4 over 5, that means we're going up 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we're plotting that line. So let's go ahead and we're going to connect those dots to make our line. Taking a look at number 2, we're crossing the y-axis at 4. So we're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, and plot that point. And then we're going down 2 over 1. Okay, when you have something like this, that -2, that's the same as -2 divided by 1. So our slope is down 2, right 1. So we're going to go ahead and plot that line right there. Okay, let's take a look at this next part. So the equation for a horizontal line is always y equals. So when you have a horizontal line, it's always just y equals. Okay, so the slope of a horizontal line is always 0. Okay, so if you would have something like this, it'd be y is equal to 0x plus b. Well, that 0x is going to cancel, so you end up with y is equal to 0, or to b, sorry. Y is equal to b. Okay, so that's what we're going to have here. So the y-intercept has to be 3. When you draw a horizontal line, your y-intercept is whatever this number is. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a horizontal line through y is equal to 3. So all I did was find 3 on the y-axis, and then I drew a horizontal line through it. Now let's take a look at number 4. At number 4, x is equal to -2. When you have x equals 2, that means that it's a vertical line. Now, vertical lines have slopes that are undefined. Okay, undefined. Oops, if I could spell, that would make me a much better teacher, wouldn't it? Okay, so horizontal lines have slopes that are undefined. Okay, so the y-intercept isn't going to exist because vertical lines are going to be parallel to the y-axis. So they're never going to cross the y-axis. So that's why there's no y-intercept. So let's take a look at plotting this. So I'm going to find -2 on the x-axis. So I see that -2 is there on the x-axis. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw a vertical line through -2. So I draw that vertical line through -2. So that has an undefined slope and it's never going to cross the y-axis. So that's what makes it undefined. Okay? Let's take a look at a couple more examples. So for number 5, y is equal to -6. So again, if it's y is equal to, that's going to tell me that this is a horizontal line. Whenever it's y is equal to, it's a horizontal line. And that means that the slope is 0. Okay, then the y-intercept, remember, when you have it y equals, the y-intercept is always whatever the line is at, which is -6. So I can go ahead and find -6 on the graph. So I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to count down to that spot, and then I'm going to draw a horizontal line at y is equal to -6. Taking a look at number 6, whenever it's just x equals, that should tell you that it is a vertical line. So it's going to be a vertical line. And since it's vertical, it's going to be parallel to the y-axis. So the y-intercept doesn't exist. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to find where x is equal to 4 on the x-axis. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So here's where x is equal to 4. And I can go ahead and draw a vertical line through x is equal to 4. And that's going to be your answer. Remember, x equals is always a vertical line. Now let's take a look at number 7. It's kind of a tricky problem at first, but then it actually turns out to be pretty easy. It says, write an equation for a vertical line that goes through 2, 5. So you're probably thinking to me, Miss Humbert, when we graphed line in the class, we needed 2 points. How am I supposed to do this? Well, if it's a vertical line, that means no matter what x value you have, the x value is going to stay the same. Vertical lines, the x value stays the same. So that means that this value, this has to be the x value of our vertical line. It doesn't matter what y is, x is always 2. So we can cross the x-axis at 2, and we know the vertical line has to be there because on vertical lines, the x value stays the same. Likewise, with horizontal lines, the y value is always going to stay the same. Let's take a look at this word problem. So, an apartment complex charges $525 per month for a maintenance fee, and plus a $750 one-time maintenance fee. Okay, so per month. So per month, this per month tells me that it represents the slope. So if we're talking per month, we're representing the slope. Okay, so I'm going to let x represent the number of months, and I'm going to let y represent the total cost. So y is equal to, now for every x month that goes by, I have to pay $525. Then I have to pay a one-time fee of $750. So that's kind of like our y-intercept. I have to pay that $750 no matter how many months I'm there. So that's what makes it kind of like our y-intercept. Part B says write an equation for a complex which charges $200 one-time maintenance fee plus a $600 per month for rent. So per month, remember that's representing our x. This is going to be like our y-intercept. So then we have y is equal to our total cost. For every x month that goes by, it's going to cost us $600. And then we have to pay a one-time fee of $200. So that doesn't need to be multiplied by the x because it's a one-time fee. If a person expects to stay in an apartment for 1 year, which complex offers the best rate? Now, if you recall, our x's are in months. So remember that a year is 12 months. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to plug in 12 for each of these x's and see which y is the lowest cost. So I have y is equal to 525. I'm going to plug in 12 for x, and then it's going to be plus 750. So then I can go over to my handy dandy calculator because I came so prepared to class that I have one. I can take 525 times 12 and add 750. And when I do that, I get $7,050. So for a whole year, over the whole course of the year, I pay $7,050. Let's take a look at this next one. If a person expects to stay in an apartment, now we're going to look at this equation right here. So I'm going to take x out and I'm going to substitute in 12 so we can see how much we're going to have to pay over the course of the year. So that's 600 times 12 plus 200, and that's going to be 7,400. Okay, so it looks like the first apartment is cheaper. So the first apartment that they looked at is cheaper. And that would make sense, right? This right here is a really good deal for someone who's maybe not going to be staying there that long, since the first initial price is really low, but then the monthly rent is really high. So if you're only staying there for a couple of months, that would be the better option. But if you're going to stay as long as a year, the longer you stay there, the more one-time costs you want to have because you're going to be paying that monthly fee a lot more. Okay, so that concludes your note video today. Please show me your note sheet when you're done. Thanks for listening.